Hey there, it's David with Brand Rocket. Welcome back to the series, Google Ads for Chiropractors. So in this particular video, we are going to talk about customer lifetime value or patient lifetime value as it applies to chiropractors, right? So really important that we look at this stuff because at the end of the day, your advertising is an investment in your practice and it needs to be actually leading to profitability. Otherwise, you're just throwing money out the door. So when we look at Google Ads in particular, like we talked about in the last slides, it can be top of funnel display ads or YouTube ads, which have a much lower cost per click or a much lower cost per view. But when you start getting to the bottom of the funnel and you start looking at like searches that really matter to chiropractic, and I'll give you a couple examples: chiropractor near me, right? So, or best chiropractor or chiropractor city name, things like that. Those are the searches that matter, and they can be very expensive depending on your location. And you have to have the peace of mind knowing that you're making the proper investment in your Google Ads advertising. And you just can't do that without knowing your lifetime patient value. When you know these numbers, it'll give you a comfort level to know that you could bid up to a certain amount per click and still be beating the pants off the competition because you know you've run your numbers. So you feel comfortable getting more aggressive in certain keywords where you know it's going to equate to long-time patient value and you're going to be able to recoup that expense over time, okay? So I just want to talk about it. Let's go into an example here. I'm going to bring up another slide here. I'm going to move myself out of the way. Scoot me down here. All right, so let's take an example here, and these are just made up numbers, of course, but let's say that we have a cost per click of $10, okay? Very realistic. In fact, sometimes these cost per clicks can actually be more than that, or less than that, hopefully, but a lot of times in major metro markets, we see CPCs that are pretty high, right? So we have to make sure that we're analyzing this, and we go through this in a spreadsheet, by the way, and I'm going to keep it very basic here, but we have an average cost per click in this example of $10. Let's say that we have a conversion rate of 5%. So anybody who clicks on an ad and goes to your landing page and reads about whatever chiropractic service you're advertising converts 5% of the time. So that means that it takes 20 clicks to get one conversion. You have 20 opportunities to get one conversion, right? So somebody clicks on an ad, they go to your website, they read, they watch a video, whatever it is, and then they submit a form or they pick up the phone and they make a call that lasts X amount of seconds, depending what we're measuring. So 1 out of 20. Okay, so that gives us a cost per conversion of $200. Well, it does and it doesn't, right? So if you think about what just happened, you're converting on the Google Ads side at 5%, right? But how many of those form submissions or phone calls actually translate into somebody becoming a patient? So this is where we got to look at like the incoming phone calls, how quickly they're being answered. Are people going to voicemail? Are they being ignored, etc., right? So you got to make sure that the customer service element is on point and everybody's getting the information that they need as soon as possible, especially if you're making this investment in Google Ads. It is absolutely vital because that secondary conversion rate gets added here. So let's say that we 20 clicks get us one conversion on the Google side. That means a form submission or a phone call. Well, what percentage of time does that form submission or phone call turn into a patient? Let's say that the close rate is 50% of the time, okay? So that means it will actually take us 40 clicks to get a patient. Our cost per conversion is not $200, but $400. And this is where you need to go, okay, I just invested $400 in this patient. Does it make sense for me to spend that? And then you look at your service lines and go, okay, what is my average patient lifetime value per service line? Or you could just average it out and then, to make it easy on yourself, know that over time as an average you know exactly what you need to pay. And think about it like if there's a patient sitting on the shelf, what's the maximum amount that you would pay for that patient to become a part of your practice that contributes to your revenue year after year, right? So really think about that. In this particular case, we're saying cost per conversion on the Google ad side is $200, but if we have a 50% close rate, then we're going to need double the amount, right, to be able to get the number. So cost per conversion of $400, but we have a patient lifetime value because we did our work and we did the calculations. We say average patient lifetime value is $5,000. So we are way ahead of the game. And in fact, in this particular case, you'd be able to bid very aggressively for the right page position. And you'll find in the next video, next or upcoming videos, we talk about this, where it's not just keywords, it's proper bidding, right? So you can have the right keywords, but if you're not bidding properly and your page position is lacking, you're not in the top, 1 to 4 position, you're not where you need to be at the right time, then your account's also going to falter. So you need to make sure that you know the maximum amount that you can bid on a CPC, a cost per click basis, and this is how you get there, right? So we have a spreadsheet that allows us to be able to do these calculations as well, and this is just kind of a rough sketch calculation, but start thinking about this because it's really, really important. And to just kind of touch more on this, let's look at a chiropractic website. So this is LifeSpring Chiropractic out of Austin, and you can see like services, and if you've got a website, you probably have something similar to this, right? LifeSpring does a fantastic job at creating pages, by the way, for every single service that they offer. So TMJ and Jaw has its own landing page just for that specific service, which helps them tremendously, not only on the PPC, the Google Ads side, but also with SEO, right? So if your site is properly structured, and it should be, if you're serious about marketing and bringing in new clients on a regular basis, then your structure should look something like this, right? So, and then think about these different services as having different income potential over time. So what would be the lifetime patient value for all of these different services? Because when you start advertising on Google, you're going to, if your account is structured properly, you're going to have campaigns that are for very specific services. And within those campaigns, you're going to have bidding parameters. So you're going to have to think about this, right? So you could either do it on a per campaign basis or a per ad group basis, but you really need to know that long-term patient value so that, again, you can get more aggressive as needed for these different service areas where the profitability and long-term growth allows you to have the comfort level in making those smart investments in your own practice where competitors probably aren't doing the work, right? Most likely they're not. So it's definitely a leg up. Gives you a huge advantage just taking the time to do that. Once we have the lifetime value numbers, then we can do things like this. This is the Google Ads budget and projection spreadsheet. I'm not going to get into the details. I'll do a whole separate video on this at some point. But we're able to look at the advertising term, projected ad budget, estimated average cost per click, and a complete detailed breakdown of number of clicks available in the marketplace. Then we do an estimate on the actual conversion rate, a multi-stage estimate, because again, it's not just Google Ads, it's what happens to the leads once they come into your practice and whoever's handling those phone calls. So a lot of times there's it depends on the company. This is very multi-stage, but with chiropractic it's more like 2 stages really, so it wouldn't be as detailed as this. But the gist of it is that it allows us to get an actual conversion rate and then plug those numbers into the spreadsheet and then give us projections as to what the return on ad spend would be. And the return on ad spend, not only for that term, but also the lifetime. So comparing it again to patient lifetime value, and then the return on investment, which adds in other expenses besides just your ad spend. Okay, so again, one step at a time, learning, what is patient lifetime value for all those individual services. If you don't have that, then, if you have a rough sketch estimate as to what it is as an aggregate for all the services, that's helpful as well, because it allows you to be able to have something in mind when you're bidding, especially in these competitive markets, where you want to cap your bids without losing money. Because at the end of the game, again, Google Ads is an investment in your practice. We do this stuff all day long, and we make a huge difference to chiropractic practices because we do it right. Okay, so that's what I would recommend, just making sure that you're doing it right by knowing your numbers, knowing how aggressive you can bid for the right keywords to the right position at the right time to the right person. All right, there's a lot of rights there in that statement, but it really makes a huge impact when you're doing it right. Okay, that's it for this one. I just wanted to touch on this. You know, how much should you spend? Well, again, it depends, right? So we got to look at the individual marketplace. We can take a look for you. You know, if this is something you're interested in. We do this stuff all day long, especially in chiropractic, and it literally changes practices pretty quickly, because you can change, you know, get Google ads going, and within a month start seeing a huge, you know, difference in the quality of leads that come in, not only through form submissions, but also phone calls. Okay, so if you need help, just give us a call. Be happy to help you out. All right, that's it for this video. If you found value here, please like and subscribe, and we will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.